Okay, so right here we are ready to continue with vanilla. And we need, on our recipe, we need 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. And so that kind of takes us back to our sugar because we also had 1 cup of sugar. Well, we still need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to label this vanilla. We need 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Remember, we're still doubling, so that's a times 2. And so 1 times 2 would be 2. We could also label, we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We could do 1 plus 1 to get 2. So we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. All right, for salt. Right here, for salt, we need, again, 1 teaspoon of salt. Again, that's 1 times 2, which makes 2. You could draw a table here. If you wanted to draw a table, you would have the first batch. We would serve 4 people. And we needed 1 teaspoon of salt. The second batch, we needed to serve 8 people. We would need 2 teaspoons of salt. We could keep going here on our chart and go all the way down to however many batches we wanted to make. So we are at 1 teaspoon, and we doubled it to make 2 teaspoons. And now we're at our bananas for our banana pudding. So we need 4 ripe bananas. So we have bananas. We need 4 bananas for 1 recipe. We're going to double that recipe, and as we double our recipe, that's timesing by 2. And we would need 8 bananas for our recipe. Again, we could draw us a diagram. This could represent banana, 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 and that would be 4 for 1 recipe. We double that, and we have 4 plus 4 to give you 8 total bananas. Is 4 plus 4. All right, guys, great job on doubling the pudding. Now let's look at our toppings. So over here, to the right, when we're looking at toppings, now we have a little bit different things because we have 1/4 of a cup. Well, we have talked about fractions, so now let's think about what we can do to figure this one out. So with this question, we have 1/4 cup of unsalted butter. So let's come over here and see what we need for our toppings. This is my toppings. We need butter. And I need 1/4 of a cup. Well, when I think of doubling butter, that means I need to do 1/4 plus 1/4. Well, I know that 1 plus 1 is 2. And when we add fractions, remember that our denominator has to stay the same. You're right, it has to stay the same. So that's going to be 2/4 cup of butter. Well, we know that 2/4 can be reduced, remember? So 2/4, we think of it as being 1/2. Okay? 2/4 is the same thing as 1/2. When we look at this, we can go 1/4 plus 1/4 to give us 2/4, which equals 1/2. Okay? All right. Now let's go back over here. We have 1/2 a cup of butter because 1/4 and 1/4 make 1/2. All right. For flour, we need 3½ tablespoons of flour. 3½ tablespoons of flour for 1 recipe. 3½ tablespoons for 1 recipe. So that means that I needed to do 3½, which I could write that as a decimal, 3.5, times 2, and I can multiply. That would give me 10. 6 plus 1 is 7. We have 1 digit behind our decimal, which means I need to move it over once to the left. So now we have 7 tablespoons of flour. Another way we can think of this is we could go and draw our boxes. 3, 3, whoops, 1, 1. We need 3 boxes. Sorry about that. And then we need a half of a box. And we're going to double this recipe. And we need a half of a box. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I know that 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. So 6 plus 1 is 7. And I still get the same answer. Okay, there's my boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a half make 1 whole. So now we have 7 tablespoons of flour. All right, the next one is brown sugar. So for brown sugar, we need 1½ teaspoons of brown sugar. So over here, we're going to go 1½ is the same thing as 1.5. And we could make this into a decimal and multiply it by 2 because we're doubling. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. We have one number behind our decimal here, which means I've got to move it once at the bottom for our answer. And there's my answer of 3 teaspoons of brown sugar. Right here, I could draw a picture. 1 whole plus my half, double it, 1 whole plus my half, and that would give me 2 whole, plus I know that 1/2 and 1/2 make a whole, so 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, going back over here, this would make 3. Now for our heavy cups of cream. Oh, this one will be easy. So we have cream. We need 1 cup of heavy cream. And we know that 1 times 2 is 2 cups. Or I can have 1 cup plus 1 cup equals 2 cups of heavy cream. 2 cups of heavy cream. Great job, guys. All right, we're going to turn it over. Now, we're going to triple our recipe. You got it, guys. What does triple mean? Oh, yes, that means that we need to times it by 3. So we're going to go back over to make sure we understand what the word triple means. When I see the word triple, that means I'm timesing by 3. Well, friends, if I made one batch already and I served 4 people, and I made 2 batches, that means I doubled it, I served 8 people. How many people am I going to serve if I'm tripling my recipe? Yeah, so we're going to serve 4 times 3, that's how we're going to get our answer, and we're going to serve 12 people this time. All right, so now here we would need to multiply everything by 3. So we're going to go through this fairly quickly. So we're going to go back up. We need, for our pudding, we need milk. And for our recipe for milk, we need 3½ cups of milk. And so we know that 3½ is the same thing as 3.5. We're going to multiply that by 3 now, not by 2 because we're tripling it. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry your 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. We, right here, have one number past our decimal, so we need to make sure we move it over once to the left. So now I'm going to serve 10½ cups of milk. I can draw a picture, friends. Go ahead and draw those pictures if it's easier for you to draw your picture. Okay? So if I go back and I look at my picture from before, we did 1, 2, 3½ And we're going to do this how many times? You're right, 3 times, because we need to make sure that we triple this recipe. So we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Half and half make 1 whole. So we have 10 plus my half. So my answer is 10½ Excellent job. All right, our next one that we're going to look at is going to be sugar. So now with sugar, we have 1 cup of sugar. We're going to go through. We need 1 cup. We're tripling it, so 1 times 3 is 3. We can draw a picture. 1 cup, 3 times, and that's going to give me 3 as well. All right, for egg yolks. So we needed 8 eggs. 8 times 3 is 24. That's the easiest way for us to solve this one, so that we can make sure that we understand. You could draw 8 squares and 8 squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we do that 3 times so we can see that. We draw the diagrams and they're easy for us to see. So that makes 16, and then we do 8 more. 16 plus 8 is 24. Okay? All right, let's look at butter. Oops, let's go back up here. We did 24 yolks. Good job. All right, let's go to our butter. Our butter, we needed 6 tablespoons. 6 tablespoons. Yes, my friends, 6 tablespoons of butter. 6 times 3 is 18. We can draw our picture. 3 groups of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to do that 3 times. That gives us 12 cups when we double it, but we're tripling it, so we want to do it that way to get 18. All right, so up here, let's make 18. And vanilla. Our vanilla from before, we needed, let's go back and look. Vanilla, we needed 1 tablespoon. So for our vanilla, 1 tablespoon, we're doing 3 times more. So we're doing 1 times 3 is 3. All right, so back up to here. We have 3 tablespoons of vanilla. The next one is teaspoons of salt. Again, that's just like the vanilla because there's 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. And we do 1 times 3 to get 3 teaspoons of salt. You can go back and look at your diagrams from before, and we can add to those. So we would have 1, 2, 3. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. All right, now bananas. Bananas, we needed 4 bananas. 4 times 3 is 12. Or we could do 4 groups of 3. And we would get 2 batches, would needed 8, remember? And we add another batch to get 12. Good job. Alrighty, now let's go on to our toppings. So for our toppings, right here, we needed 12 bananas. Okay, for our toppings, we're going to go to butter. And for our toppings of butter, we needed 1/4 of a cup to start. So we're going to go 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And remember, when we multiply or add fractions, I should say, add fractions,